Influencing popular culture, politics, and everything in between. The local station takes you ringside as we discuss the crazy world that is professional wrestling. This is Going Ringside with The Local Station.
Hello there, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Going Ringside. I'm your host, Scott Johnson. So glad you could be with us. Excited for this show. We're talking about WWE LFG, the brand new show debuting on A&E this weekend. It will have Mickie James, one of the legends from WWE, here on the show in just a few minutes. Before we move forward, I want to talk to you about last week's episode. Go check it out right now. We explored the death of Miss Elizabeth, one of the most iconic figures in pro wrestling history, and the tragic death of her in 2003. We analyze what happened that day with a police expert. You can go check it out right now. But we're having a much more positive episode this week as we talk about the brand new show, LFG, which is Legends and Future Greats. That's what it stands for. A&E debuting it this weekend, debuts the 16th. If you're watching it before then, make sure you tune in. If you're watching it after the 16th, make sure you go check it out because it will live on A&E properties. And A&E gave us this little promo on what you can expect on the show.
4 legendary coaches compete to build the next WWE superstar.
I'm building something special.
16 challengers.
There is no playing for second place.
I don't like to lose.
Don't make me look bad.
In a wrestling competition fighting for their future.
Let's go!
WWE LFG premieres Sunday, February 16th at 8. Part of WWE Superstar Sunday only.
So the show looks exciting. It pairs greats like Undertaker, Bubba Ray, Booker T, and that lady right there, Mickie James, who we're going to hear from shortly, to talk about what this show will be. It's an interesting idea. Really love seeing these shows when people come up and learn the trade in WWE. Later on in the show, we will be joined by friend of the show, Victoria Crawford, who is Alicia Fox in WWE, a good friend of Mickie James. She'll kind of give us her analysis of what she thinks this show will bring to the table. So we want to talk about it. So first, we're going to hear from Mickie James. A&E fortunately reached out to us and said, hey, would you like this interview we did with Mickie? I said, absolutely, we would. We'd love to hear what her thoughts are on this brand new show, WWE LFG, once again debuting February 16th. So let's get to it. Here is WWE legend. Here is Mickie James.
Hi, Scott. It's been really amazing to come out and come back for something that's so unique. Obviously, the premiere of this show, first time ever with A&E, and then to be called still it's weird for me when they're legend. I'm like, oh, it's weird to me, especially when I'm sitting alongside people who I've considered mentors and I look up to so much and admire, Bubba Ray, Booker T, who's had tons of success and wrestling along with training other talents to go on and have their own success. But then the Undertaker, who, my first run with WWE was still very active on the roster and still very much the judge, the jury, the executioner when it came to the locker room and the person who you wanted to respect you the most, I suppose. And then obviously Shawn Michaels, who I have always admired and looked up to and tried to emulate in so many ways as at least a female, to be that great. So yeah, I every week I walk in there, I'm like, I feel like I'm still learning and I'm still, hungry for that knowledge. And it's cool. It's cool to earn, hopefully, their respect on a different level, and to be considered somewhat an equal in that platform. It's been unique. It's been really interesting and humbling and amazing and exciting and so many emotions. And then obviously to be able to try to train and work with these 16 future greats, because I personally believe they all will go on to be really great. And it's cool to get to know them at the very beginning stages of their journey. And hopefully they create some fans for life, because I feel like if you're a fan of WWE, if you're a fan of this process and what it takes to be a WWE superstar, but then to be able to see a lot of these talents at the very beginning of their careers, and this is just scratching the surface of where they're going to go. It's pretty amazing because it's a rarity that you get to see a talent this early in their career before they go on to hopefully their stardom and to be a real superstar in this industry. So it's a day by day thing because I do have a certain expectation. I would say out of the four of us, I might be the nicest or the sweetest at times, but then I'm like, oh, I've gotten pretty dug in a few times because at the same time I'm going like, this is a competition. It's not just a competition between these 16 future greats where, only two of them will get a contract to then go on to NXT television. The rest of them, who knows when you will see them again. But so it's a competition between them, but also it's a competition between the coaches because we are also competing because there can only be one coach that kind of wins who's done the best with their teams throughout, the show. And one of us will get a brand new championship, which I've already put it out there. I've been, hoping for a seventh championship for a very, very long time. So I kind of feel like it's coming this way. I already have a shiny place to put it. So very stoked about that. But no, it's, you friendly and camaraderie and all of these things, but at the same time, it's a competition and you can only have one winner and you have to remember that. And I have to remind myself of that. And so I think I can be a little bit sympathetic with with all of the future greats because I've been in their shoes before and I've been through the system and I know what it's like to be in their shoes. But I have to, it's also competition and we want to win. So what is it going to take to win? And what is it going to take for you to stand apart from everyone else here? If I could coach one legend? Wow. Oh my gosh. I would say I would have loved to Sensational Sherry, as far as women go, was my all-time favorite. Her and Macho Man Randy Savage, as far as men go. If I could have sat underneath their learning tree, if I could have just been in the same space and time to have shared any sort of moment of wrestling with them, I would have lost my mind. I think I would have been complete fangirl. It would have been embarrassing, but it was fine. I would have been okay with it. Honestly, I was honored to be asked to do the show and to be a part of it and to sit alongside Booker T and Bubba Ray and The Undertaker and even be seen in that same, when they say legends, and to be seen in that same platform and level as those guys. Because I feel like every time we walk in there to, work with these hopefuls and train with them, I'm still learning. I'm getting to learn from Shawn Michaels still and Undertaker and Booker T and Bubba Ray. And so it's been a cool experience. I think it's been interesting to try to see myself, I guess, in those same shoes alongside these guys that I look up to and have looked up to for so long. So yeah, it's been different and I didn't, really know what to expect walking in because it is such a different show. Yeah, I think the closest that we've ever done anything was Tough Enough, but this is with, way different. I think it relates a lot to that when most people associate it with the Tough Enough, but it's so different and dynamic that obviously you've never seen Undertaker as a coach before. In fact, this show is the first time he says it openly, is the first time he's actually coached young hungry wrestlers to then be superstars themselves. So you get to see all these superstars that you've looked up to for so long in maybe a different light. And our coaching styles are so different and our personalities as well as the talent, the kids' personalities are so different. So it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun, and I think a learning experience for us all.
So excited to hear from Mickie James and now bring in one of her contemporaries, friend of the show, Victoria Crawford. Victoria, how you been doing?
I'm good, Scott. Thank you.
Been a few weeks since we talked to you. What's new in your life? What's going on with you right now?
Okay, what's new? I have a couple appearances this weekend and I got my Pilates certification today.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks.
Congratulations. So that is exciting. That is exciting. Well, so we just heard from Mickie James. She's one of the ones that you kind of came up with, wasn't she, when you started
Yeah.
out? Is that right? Talk to me about Mickie.
Oh my gosh. Well, Minnie would describe her as a goat. She's definitely a dear friend of mine, but she is my co-pilot, my old tag team partner, the person I can cry to. Um, she's just a goat. She's
Yeah.
the goat. She's always innovating her career, being on TNA, rebranding Cowgirl, Angry Cowgirl, and just a goat.
And now she's brought in, WWE starts this new show with A&E called LFG, Legends and Future Greats. It's got her, it's got Taker, it's got Bully Ray, Bubba Ray, I don't know what they call them nowadays. And, stars, legends like that teaching these new generation. What do you think of shows like these? I mean, we've seen them before and they always do really well.
I think it'd be really great, especially being the fact that you'd learn from Mickey, Undertaker. They would get such a dynamic experience of the whole enchilada, like what brings the people to come to the seats, what makes the moolah. So I think it's really a good concept. And I think it's, if I were an independent wrestler seeing this, it would give me that idea that I could get closer to my dream, you
What
know?
what do you learn? Like put yourself back in the day when you were just learning. When you're next to someone like a Mickie James or an Undertaker, I mean, what are the types of things that like I as a fan wouldn't realize you still need to learn?
Jeez, where do we begin?
I mean, I understand the ring work is one thing, but there's so much more.
There's so much more. There's so much more. Um, there's so much more.
Yeah.
I think honestly, if I were a student back in the game and I had the opportunity to be with like Mickie James, I would have like some pretty solid questions in regards to what happens if it doesn't work out. I think that's one thing I would have
What do you mean by if it doesn't work out? The career, the match?
everything because there's
Yeah.
just so many things and they change all the time. So it's almost as though what if it doesn't work out that I don't get booked? What if it doesn't work out that WWE releases me or TNA? Or what if it doesn't work out that I never leave the independent scene? What if it doesn't work out that I'm still in my full-time job? What if it, there's so many what ifs that I think my main question for a Mickey or Undertaker is how do you dissolve the questioner in here so I can move forward and put my skills forward and like just go with the punches. And because I think when I first started, they said that there's 10% of you that will make it on the road, and you're counting. You're
Really?
like, yeah. And there were quite a bit of us then. There were probably about 60 folks at OVW, but there was one ring. And then there's like, a smaller population of females, but there were, I mean, roughly about 10 to 15% of individuals that went all the way, like the Melinas, Mickeys, but they shared locker rooms with millions of girls. So,
Mhm.
however, I would prepare my mentality, I think I would ask them all about the brain, keeping.
And so when you deal with these young people, are they realists? Do they know that this may not work out, or do a lot of them just have delusions of grandeur? I'm going to be the next Undertaker. I'm going to be the next Mickie James.
It's kind of an all part thing. Like it's like they kind of need to be the I'm going to be Undertaker, I'm going to be the Mickie James, but then I mean, it's so easy to stay in your fantasy.
And what about the moving from city to city, country to country? Is that a learning process too? Because that's the part that you did that I could never imagine what that's like. I traveled around just Florida. I mean, I don't travel around the world. That's got to be hard, particularly if you're young, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Well, maybe when I was younger it were easier because I had less attachments at home. But however, like a lot of us are parents on the road. I mean, I'm not a mother yet or anything, but
Yeah.
and so that learning curve of putting your domesticated life on pause, not forever, but just to go and be a part. A lot of folks miss birthdays, weddings, like well, yeah, you miss events. However, there's something that starts to develop in the traveling world where you're just like going from hotel to hotel. You're like, this is just the life. I live in a hotel. I travel in an airport, and you just get so used to being in a suitcase that uh I got to the point where I was like, I can't take this suitcase anymore. And it became very difficult for me to domesticate back home because I wanted all the big lights. I wanted people to miss me. It was hard to be like, oh yeah, dishes. Okay, great. Let's go. Everyone's story is different. But yeah, the being on the road full time and knowing how to go on command, it's such a thrill, but you got to be responsible about it. So probably, in repetition, they can adjust to that lifestyle, but it definitely is demanding.
I was just looking back at a interview we had with Curtis Axel a few months back that we released, and he talked about when he went into Nexus with Bray Wyatt, and he just showed up that day and say, "You're in Nexus now," and they just kind of had to learn on the fly. Is that something that, particularly for new people, is hard to? You show up and you're like, "This is what you're doing. I need to adjust and make the most of it."
I think that's part of the high. You're just like, you go equipped and you're hoping you get that pop. You just hope you get something. You just hope they want to just throw you in the pool without swimmies.
Yeah.
You just hope for it because it's like the anticipation, there needs to be some kind of pressure release. So if it's like by that time you're like, I'm just gonna do my best, and I think it actually fuels the experience and then you can always make mistakes. I mean, everybody, for me performing, I try to do it to my best perfect ability, but the companies aren't keeping you, they're not trying to make you perfect. They just want you to perform and have a good time and be responsible. So but that first initial high of like, yeah, it's just, I guess it's part of the environment.
I always wondered about people who get pushed to the moon right out of the gate and then it kind of fizzles. Have you ever seen that? Because some people
Yeah.
wait, and they finally hit it. But others like get pushed immediately, and then I guess it doesn't always last forever.
Yeah, nothing ever lasts forever. I mean, in my experience, I've had some good debuts and then I went back to developmental and then re-debuted again. And each time it was just as exciting. But
Is it
the
good
thing
for wrestlers to understand that it's not? I mean, in my mind, because I'm just a fan, I think just like Rock, when Rock showed up and he was Rocky Maivia, no one cared, and then they had to repackage him. That many times the first thing you do isn't going to work, and you're going to have to get repackaged. That's part of the job.
he's the perfect example because, like, all of those experiences, I mean, obviously he now can like pull from that arsenal today, like as he's in the board and being where he's at. Like, I think the one thing that Mickey and Undertaker and them can tell them is like, a consistent paycheck is nice, but um, uh, consistent booking. I mean, there's so many parts. There's so many parts that, a strong emotional, intellectual mind, like all of these, you have to employ every part of your reality. And
Tell me about the emotional. So does the emotional come with the, being away from home and then it sucks one day? Is that what you mean by
well,
emotional?
I think it's kind of like, everyone's experience is different. When I per se say my emotional, it's kind of in the way I can like, make choices, decisions, change time, like on the very like local level of self-containing, keeping myself together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I mean, for the good, it's always good to be excited, but those bad and challenging days that bring a different series of emotions. I think that's where like community, like in the locker room, is important. Having a mentor, for instance, like the Mickey and Undertaker, to like go to and say, "Hey, coach, like, what is this?" Because in a sense of what I think wrestling provides is like it's live every week. Like you got the train rolling all the time, and you get into that endorphin and you're like, yeah, challenging, like next week I'll do better. So there's always like another opportunity to give yourself some more credit. It may not be on television. It may not be your name in lights, but I think sometimes like some of these young kids can know that they're going to have so many multiple achievements that are going to be in their inside self that people might not be a part of. But it's just such a fulfilling experience. But it's just real helpful to have someone help you navigate it. It can be kind of, I don't know. I hope these kids are mature because, sometimes people don't want to hear the truth either. So then there's like these, disillusions, could be working in a fantasy of your own,
Mm-hmm.
I love it. It's such a high. It's such a high because you just never know what can happen. You remember the one, I think it was a battle royal, and it was like all the Diva Air girls, and then Eve Torres won the number one contender.
Okay.
Because it was either Eve or Caitlyn, can't remember her wrestling last name, but one of them accidentally spilt out and they were supposed to win. So then the championship to the other one. Yes. So in a sense of like the larger trajectory, like, for myself, that meant that the opponent that I need to seek or want to, build relations with professionally, like on screen and in life, is going to be different, like, so there's like these cause and effects, so I think
I want to go over this battle royal on a future episode. I'm intrigued by this story. I want to talk about that sometime.
Yes. So, so what ended up happening is the new champion had to run out the title run, even though it was so far from what needed to happen. One was well experienced, the one that was supposed to win. The other, very new, very green, very, trying to figure out gear and it can sometimes become a burden on the performer, but, there isn't anyone back in any of those machines that won't help anybody. You can always get someone to help, navigate, but, wrestling is such like Undertaker's Undertaker, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he's had hard days, but it's kind of like seems very authentic that he created that persona himself. It doesn't seem like people were giving him.
Really quickly, I saw Undertaker's wife's getting in the Hall of Fame. I saw that come out in the last few days. So yeah, that's fast. I just found that out in real time, so I might as well mention it. Well, Victoria, thank you. We're going to have you back coming up. We got a Queen of the Ring episode for the big new movie coming out in coming weeks. So look for that, and we will see you back here soon, Victoria. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Scott.
So I appreciate Victoria sitting down with us to talk about this, and A&E for providing us this interview with Mickie to tell us all about this show. Brand new WWE LFG once again debuts the 16th of February. If you're seeing this before then, make sure you check it out. If you're seeing this after the fact, go check it out wherever you get your streaming access like you do here at Going Ringside. So glad you could be with us. We got a lot of big episodes in coming weeks, so check us out. We'll be giving you updates in weeks to come on some big, unique episodes for us. So glad you could be here for this one. Thanks for joining us. I'm Scott Johnson. We'll see you back here next time.
This has been Going Ringside with the local station, brought to you every Wednesday on your favorite podcast player, on New Sport Jacks Plus, as well as the New Sport Jacks YouTube channel.